Hey friends, this is Miss Regine from SOAR Educational Services. I know it's been a while since I made a video, but I wanted to come on and do some practice questions that you might see on the SAT or questions along these lines as far as the rationale. So let me step out the way to be the first one. A cube has two faces painted black and the remaining faces painted white. The total area of the white faces is 64 square inches. What is the volume of the cube in square inches? So there are some prerequisite knowledge you need to have for this. So you have to understand that a cube has 6 faces. So if 2 faces are painted black, then that means 4 faces are painted white. And the total area of the white faces is 64 square inches. So if you have 4 faces painted white and they add up to 64 square inches, then that means each individual face is 16 square inches. Now, the faces of a cube are squares. I know this doesn't look like a square, but they're squares. So if the area of those 4 squares are 60 square inches each, that means the side length of the square are 4 inches. And now for volume, the volume of a cube is length times width times height. So that's just 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64 cubic inches. So that's something you can do pretty quickly, very little calculation. All right, let me write up another one to think through. So with the SAT, it is perfectly fine to estimate or plug in numbers of values that you think could work. So if we have numbers here, and this is 1, and over here we have, we'll call this A, B, C, and this is -1. All right, so they're asking you which ones are have the highest value. So let's say let's try a couple of, which one, actually, I'm sorry, this one is actually asking which one has the lowest value. Now, it doesn't say exactly what these numbers are, but we can estimate. So we can say that this is 0.25, this is 0.5, this is 0.75, and this is 1. And this is -0.25, -0.5, -0.75, and then that's -1. So again, whether that's exactly what it is, it's perfectly fine to estimate the different types of values. So one choice you have is, let's do these two. Well, if we subtract -0.75 minus 0.75, we'll have -1.5. So, because it had, let me see, just to make sure. Oh, sorry, this one was actually plus. So if we're adding these two together, sorry about that. So if it's -0.75 plus 0.75, that actually, they cancel each other out. They're additive inverse. So that is 0. Then our other choice, we have this one and this one. So if we have -0.75 and we are adding 0.25 to it, that will give us -0.5. And you are allowed to use a calculator for these. The next one will be, if we're adding these two together. So -0.5. So you just have to pay attention to your operation. So if we're adding these two together, we have -0.25. And then for choice D, we're subtracting these two. -0.75 minus -0.5. 2 negative makes a positive, so we're going to subtract, and we have -0.25. So the one with the lowest number is this, 0.25, -0.75 plus 0.25. So again, this is a problem that you would have been given without the values, but you can plug in, estimate what the value could have been, quickly do the different operation, and determine which has the greatest value. I'm sorry, the lowest value. Because negative numbers are lower. So if we have these numbers given to us, and we are asked to determine what are possible values of the median if another number is added. All right, so over here we have three choices. So what are the possible values of the median? But currently the median is actually 6.5. But that's not what this question is asking us for. What it's asking is if there's another integer that is included in this, what would be a possible value of the median? So we can again imagine an integer. We could plug in a number here. And now let's look for the median. Not this, not this. We cancel these out. The median is 6. So a number added to the front, an integer added to the front will give us a value of 6. If we add an integer over here, all right, let's find the median. And now we have a value of 7. Now, 6.5 is incorrect because remember, the question is not asking us what's the current median, but it's asking us what if we add another number. Now, you cannot add another integer in to get that 6.5 there. So that's why it would be these two that are the correct possible answers for median if you're adding another integer. All right, I have 2 more. So this is something that stomps students all the time. So imagine you have a rectangle and they said the length is increased by 30%. And then the width is decreased by 30%. And we are asked to consider, how does this affect the area? Again, I tell you, plug in some numbers, make up some numbers. Friendly numbers, easy number that you can do in your head. So we can say our rectangle is actually a square, which will work. That's fine, because that's easy to calculate. But again, you can try any different numbers. And if you want to pause and play along with different type of numbers and see how it works, you will see that it will get you the same answer. So, but let's say it's 100 is a square. So if the length is increased by 30%, it's going to be 130. So now if the width is decreased, that's going to be 70. Currently, our area is 10,000. If we do this, then our new area is 9,100. And that means the area of our rectangle decreased by 9%. But I encourage you to try some different numbers and see how it works with those numbers. But again, on a test, you could quickly plug in something like this and determine. And this was a multiple choice question, so then you would have seen that, okay, decreased by 9%. And the last one I'm going to do with you is you have a quadratic equation going on. And what it says is that K is a constant. And again, it's a multiple choice. K is a constant. So I already automatically say, okay, I'm going to ignore K because K is my constant. It's not going to change no matter what. So they ask you what number was the number of bees in the hive the same as it was as day number 10. So what we can do is plug in for day number 10 and solve, ignoring K. And when we do that, we get negative 150. Now, this is a multiple choice question. So there are other numbers, and we could plug in the first number, and it was this, 20 to the second power over 2 minus 20 times 20. So choice A was 20. And when we did this, we got negative 200. Remember, we need that negative 150, so that didn't work. So let's try the next one. So B, which is 30, so we have 30 to the second power over 2 minus 20 times 30. So that's 900 over 2 minus 600. So we have 450 minus 600, and we get that negative 150. So that's the one that matched, and we can stop there. All right, so that's all I had for today. I hope you learned something, and if you did, please share this information, share the channel with a friend, and I'll see you next time. Bye.